This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome. From Johannesburg here in South Africa, I'm Eben Janssen. The show is live. It's broadcast from our studios in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube as we speak right now, with the entire show available on our YouTube channel all of the time. Now, a courthouse was set alight by angry community members in Phongolo last night. We'll cross there shortly. We also look at the escalating health crisis within the Mpumalanga Department of Health. Get an update on that. And then President Jacob Zuma will today launch the first automotive works assembly plant in the Eastern Cape. First, though, Anine gives us the headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anine Dormal. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines today. Police are monitoring the situation of Phongolo in northern KwaZulu-Natal, where a local magistrate's court was torched in Promotional township last night. This follows a standoff between the police and community members, which lasted for several hours, with residents barricading roads with rubble. The community is demanding the release of 15 people who were arrested for allegedly burning a local church and the home of the church leader. The unrest was triggered by the killing and mutilation of a 4-year-old boy. The National Union of Metal Workers, NUMSA, is to hold regional feedback meetings today to discuss the latest wage offer from employers. Last night, the Metal Workers Union held a special National Executive Committee meeting to discuss the latest wage offer from employer group SABC. Employers are offering a 10% increase, while NUMSA has officially lowered its demand to 12%. The Justice Minister, Michael Mashuta, is expected to announce whether former apartheid-era police Death Squad commander Eugene de Kock will be granted parole today. The minister was given 30 days to make a decision after de Kock approached the High Court in Pretoria for a decision in May. Nearly 2 decades ago, the de Kock was sentenced to 2 life sentences for murder and 212 years in prison for charges including conspiracy to commit murder, culpable homicide, kidnapping, assault and fraud. The sentences run concurrently. Argentina will take on Germany for the 2014 FIFA World Cup title following a nail-biting penalty shootout over the Netherlands in Sao Paulo last night, where the South American team progressed 4-2 to the final stage of the tournament. Tilakaratne Dilshan outshone Hashim Amla on the 14th one-day international century to steer Sri Lanka to a series-levelling 87-run win over South Africa in their second match yesterday. Dilshan followed his 90-ball knock of 86 to take 3 crucial South African wickets for 40 runs and claim the Man of the Match award. Sri Lanka, choosing to bat first, were dismissed for 267 in the 50th over, with Ryan McLaren causing a late collapse, taking 4 for 48 as the last 6 wickets fell for 42 runs. South Africa were going strong at 101 for 2 before Dilshan induced AB de Villiers to miscue a shot, and they then collapsed to 180 all out of 38 overs on a slow pitch. Remember, all of these stories are available on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC News. Eben, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Janine. Now, a man had to carry his elderly father's body down 4 flights of stairs in Mpumalanga Hospital as the undertaker was waiting downstairs. The lifts at the Rob Ferreira Hospital were not working, and there was nobody to help him, even the hospital staff, including the matron. Last week, Mpumalanga provincial government appointed the MEC for Finance, Mr. Eric Holwane, to the role of curator in the ailing Provincial Department of Health. The financial delegations of the Department of Health are now with the curator, and only the human resource delegations remain with the Health Department. Now, to talk about the incident and health facilities in general in Mpumalanga Province, we are joined by the Mpumalanga MEC for Health, Mr. Gillian Mashego. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, sir, and how are you?
Is the Department of Health in the province on the brink of collapse, sir?
No. I wouldn't agree that the Department of Health is in the brink of collapse. Yes, indeed, there were problems in the department. Hence, the executive decision to put the department under curatorship. The intention thereof is to make sure that we put systems And at the same time, we are going to be cautious of the fact that we don't collapse the service delivery supply at the stage of the curatorship.
Now, what are some of the main challenges that you are facing in the health department there? And was it the right route to appoint the curator to really take charge?
The main issue that we are facing in the department is that the financial system has collapsed. The department is sitting at 725 accruals when I was appointed in the department. Then the executive then felt that for the department to start on the right footing, the Treasury must take control so that there are systems in place to ensure that as we move forward, we deal with those challenges and ensure that we enhance service delivery. It has been a time that there has been crisis in the department. They are not emerging now, and hence the approach is that let's deal with these matters and overhaul the departments once and for all.
Just clear up for us, so what's the terms of reference that have been agreed upon for the curator?
I wouldn't prefer to delve much into the curator because that's the field of Treasury. But amongst other issues, they look at the financial management, they look at the infrastructure management, they look at the hospital management. Those are some of the areas, but I wouldn't like to speak on behalf of the MEC for Finance.
Your Excellency, I want to ask you about the situation where a man could not get help at a hospital to help him carry a corpse down 4 flights of stairs because the lifts weren't working and the staff weren't prepared to help. What are your views on these kind of issues affecting South Africans daily almost, it seems?
It's unfortunate on the matter that you are referring because 2 weeks to 3 weeks I was at the hospital in the evening. I personally picked up that thing was not working and I brought the team. You'll recall that the team that is dealing in terms of maintenance there is Public Works, Roads and Transport, which is our implementing agent. I met with the district manager and we discussed on that matter. The indication that I received after 2 days was that the lift was working. But unfortunately, we just received the news that you are referring to. I'm putting up an investigation team, but they've indicated to me that the problem thereof is that the lift underneath, there is water leaking. And I've engaged with the HOD from Public Works, Roads and Transport yesterday. We are putting systems to ensure that we deal with that matter once and for all.
It's one thing for the lift not to work, sir, but it's completely a different thing for staff not to want to help a man who's obviously in grief trying to get his father down 4 flights, the corpse of his father down 4 flights of stairs. Would you be in favor of action being taken against staff members who behave in that manner?
Indeed, I'm making a point on record that I'm investigating that matter. Anyone who will be found not to have rendered the service, we will take due actions. We are not promoting laziness in the public service, and our work is to ensure that people receive the services that they deserve.
And then now, in conclusion, sir, what's your vision for the department and what steps are we going to see going forward to rectify the situation, but also to create sustainability going forward?
My vision is that we should focus on the 6 priority areas. That ones of ensuring that there is cleanliness in the hospital, we reduce the waiting times, there is safety of patient, we make sure that the medical supply in the hospital is up to standard, and at the same time we ensure that we standardize the supply of food in the province. We make sure that there is proper linen supply, and you see, during my visit in the hospital, what I observed was that our laundry machines are aging and we just need to revamp them. Our boilers are not, sometimes there are breakdowns, and those are the areas that there is a team that is going to make an assessment so that we ensure that we reinforce and strengthen them because they are core in terms of our service delivery.
I thank you, sir, for joining us today and being candid enough to come and confront these issues that are facing the health department in your province. Thank you very much. That's the Mpumalanga Health MEC, Mr. Gillian Mashego, and he joined us this morning. Well, there are reports that there are difficult times ahead within the health in the province. Of course, the MEC told us now he's got a plan and he's going to put it to action. We will, of course, try and speak to the MEC in a month or so to see how this plan is going ahead and keep you informed of that. Now, this week, a new advert from the NGO Feed a Child SA sparked a racial storm here in South Africa amongst South Africans. Yesterday, we here at Newsroom showed you the clip, which has since been removed from YouTube. In it, a black child being fed by a white woman like a dog from a dinner table is shown. If you've missed it, have a look at the clip, which is still on the NGO's Facebook page, mind you. Here it is. Yeah, it's not a high point, I would think, for most of you. However, we are joined in studio today by the Chief Executive Officer of the Advertising Standards Authority of South Africa, Thembi Msibi, to talk to us about this clip. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
What are your views on this clip? Let's start there. I noticed that you couldn't really look at it. But what are your views? Is that racist?
Personal or professional?
Let's start with personal and then professional.
It's a very disturbing ad from a personal point of view. I mean, funny enough, I do understand what they were trying to do, but I think they could have executed it differently. I don't think they needed to go to this route. And of course, understanding also our history, it becomes a bit problematic. I'm not sure if they really wanted to create this kind of controversy where they've taken attention away from what they were the message that they were trying to get across to actually the execution of the ad itself.
Do we have an escalation in these kinds of behavior by businesses, NGOs and so forth to grab attention in the, let's call it, in the viral age where people have to sort of make a statement or cause an uproar in order to be heard?
Well, not in this manner. I mean, you know, people do want to get our attention. They find creative ways of doing it, but I must indicate that we really have not had a lot of ads, I think probably in the last 5 years, around offensive in terms of causing racism or discrimination around racism. So we don't have that many in our space nowadays. So people are more aware of what would be acceptable and what would not be acceptable, not only in terms of the code, but in terms of just the environment that they work in.
Well, I want to talk about this NGO in particular. The ones responsible for the clip, they've apologized, but the NGO has not removed the clip from their Facebook page. Are you okay with that?
Well, you know, with us, we have a process. There's a due process that has to be followed. So we have received complaints. We received 3 complaints on Monday. We then wrote to the NGO, indicated that there have been complaints around this ad, and have asked them for a response. Now, they have until tomorrow to respond. As of yesterday, they had not yet responded. So we could not act on what is out in the public in terms of the media, where they say they've removed it, where they've apologized. They have to write to us, you know, and indicate their stance, whether they're either removing it or defending it, whichever route they decide to take. So at this point in time, in terms of the ASA, we have not had a response, and therefore, you know, we're not in a position to say what will happen next.
Well, we hope you get a response, and if you don't get a response, what's the next steps that you then follow?
We actually do rules. We have the right to rule. So they have until tomorrow to respond to us, and then would look at both sides of the story, as we have to, and then make a ruling. If, for example, they've indicated, I heard yesterday in the media that they were indicating that they've pulled the ad. So if the aim is to pull the ad, and they indicate so to us that they would never use the ad again, that's taken as a voluntary undertaking. We then look at that, but then, you know, we look at should there still be sanctions or should there not be sanctions?
Yeah.
And that's another, route that we could take. But at this point in time, we can't really make a judgment because they haven't responded. We do not know what their response is going to be to us.
Well, I can give evidence in this case that it's still on their Facebook page. If they've taken it off YouTube, which in a way supposes within their rights, but it's still disturbing. I want to talk to you about in the new age that we live in the viral age where, everyone can put stuff up on YouTube and anything can be loaded onto the internet. How does the ASA manage to keep an eye on things and in a way, police things without babysitting us?
Look, I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware of in terms of how we work, but the way we work and the way we're established by the industry is that we are a reactive organization rather than a proactive. So we have to wait for a complaint. We can't monitor as our British counterpart does. We only react in terms of when there's a complaint, and that's when we would rule. So unfortunately, we do not really police, and even after we've made a ruling, it's usually the complainant that would come back to us, for example, if there's a breach. So that's unfortunately how we work.
So the system here in place in South Africa is very much one of investigating complaints rather than policing subject matter.
Yes.
That's very clear. Now, if a company is then found or to be guilty of being racist, as is the claim in this instance, what are the consequences and how do you hold people accountable or bring them to book, as it were?
We have sanctions. So the first one would be, for example, if you find that in this particular case the ad was against the code, it breached the code in some way or other, we would either rule that they remove it or they go and amend it. That's the first instance. Then there are other sanctions as the matter progresses. For example, if we find that a habitual break ruler, we would then want you to have your ads pre-cleared by the ACA, which is the Association for Communicators and Advertisers. Should we find that the ad was really, even if you are a first-time offender, we find that you should have known better. We do have another sanction where we can ask you to apologize to the public. So that's an adverse statement where we would prepare it on your behalf and you would put it in the same media that you put the original ad. So those are the sanctions that we have. Now, they may not bring financial relief or in terms of paying the ASA or the complainants something, but it basically hits the pocket of the advertiser, because if you have to prepare another ad, apologizing, you're spending money twice, for wrongdoing. So
there's a real financial implication, I would think, but the damage is well done, as some would say. It's out there and it's caused a lot of consternation and hurt in some quarters. But thank you very much for joining us and clearing up to us how this process works and what process will be followed in order to deal with these complaints. Thank you once again.
Very much.
That's the CEO of the Advertising Standards Authority here in South Africa, Thembi Msibi, who joined us this morning. Thank you once again. Now, let's take a look at what you are talking about on social media. Of course, at SABC Newsroom is where we're at. Sahili says, NUMSA strike, bring the capitalist economy down. Internet is not working. Down to its knees. Burn all symbols of capitalism. Raise them to the ground. Burn it all. I don't know if that really works. Maybe, maybe if we were in the middle of a revolution, you never know. However, Greedy Snake says, NUMSA strike, lots of noise, box in the east. Any idea what's going on? I don't know what that means. Strike update says, NUMSA strike, taxi ranks are quiet for now. Long may it last, says strike update. And then Chare Lungobe says, what's the latest news? Because honestly, I don't like this. Month end is around the corner. How are we going to pay our bills? Well, that's maybe something you should have thought about before you decided to go on strike. Chantal van Staden says, why are certain areas harder hit than others? Well, that's a question that was answered last week on the show. Maybe you should look back on YouTube. We've got those clips available there. Fani Ntupa says there's a picture, of course, NUMSA striking workers toying and brandishing sticks outside a factory in Jet Park, it seems. Now, what's happening on the front pages of the world? It seems it's been very busy in the United States. The Tampa Bay Times is reporting on the situation in the Gaza Strip. Now, there, I can tell you, more than 300 rockets have been fired from the Palestinian enclave into Israel since the Jewish state began what is known as Operation Protective Edge. And of course, papers in Argentina and Europe reporting on the Argentinian team advancing to the final of the 2014 World Cup that takes place on Sunday night. They will face the might of Germany, of course, who knocked out Brazil a little bit earlier in the week. Of course, last night the Argentinians just snuck through when they beat, well, Holland 4-2 on penalties. You're watching Newsroom. We'll be back after a short break.
Accra is a beautiful city of contradictions.
Funerals in Ghana are colorful and flamboyant. Ghana coffins are functional coffins made by specialized carpenters. These colorful objects, which have developed out of figurative palanquins, are not only coffins but considered real works of art. Each year, festivals and durbars are held in various parts of the country to celebrate the heritage of the people.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom here on SABC News. We're coming to you live from Johannesburg right now. President Jacob Zuma will today launch the first Automotive Works South Africa assembly plant and operations in the Kucha Industrial Development Zone at the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro in Port Elizabeth. This groundbreaking project is part of government's interventions in manufacturing as an important pillar of the economy and will help further attract foreign investor confidence here in South Africa. The major investment is also one of the outcomes of the good trade relations between South Africa and the People's Communist Republic of China. Well, let's cross to our reporter Janine Lee, who is right there. Good morning, Janine. Can you hear me?
Thanks, Eben. Yes, good morning from a very chilly Nelson Mandela Bay.
It seems it's cold all over the country right now, Janine, so we have very little sympathy for you. But just tell us about this project. How long has it been in the pipeline and what does it entail?
Yes, Eben, very exciting news for Nelson Mandela Bay and the Eastern Cape. This is a project that was announced in 2012 and it came after lengthy negotiations between President Jacob Zuma and the Chinese and of course Nelson Mandela Bay. And as a result, what you have here is this massive factory behind me built on 4,000 square meters here in the Kucha RDZ in Zone 2. And what it's going to do is it's going to produce a number of trucks annually each year, which is absolutely fantastic news for the Eastern Cape economy, and it's going to be officially opened today by our President Jacob Zuma.
The workers are not on strike at that plant at the moment then, Janine?
No, none of that yet, Eben, but obviously that's going to be a wait and see because, you know, wherever there's workers, there's a union, so that might be something in the future that the Chinese will be looking at.
Well, let's hope they accept the 10 or 11 or 12% that's on the table today. I wanted to ask you about the global significance of a plant like this, Janine.
Yeah, very important, Eben. This is the biggest manufacturing entity by the Chinese in South Africa. It's absolutely massive. It's 600 million rands worth. So it has a big socio-economic impact. It's going to create a number of jobs. And this company here is going to join the other motor manufacturers here in the Eastern Cape, General Motors, Ford South Africa and Volkswagen South Africa. So a big day for the Eastern Cape. And as you say, it's got big global, it's going to have a big global impact. And what's also important, Eben, is the situation here. We are a stone's throw from the Kucha Deepwater Harbour. I can see it as I'm standing here. It's just in front of me. So once these vehicles are assembled, it's just basically a hop and a skip, and they can be shipped out to anywhere in the world.
Janine, just run us through the numbers quickly again. Once up and running, full capacity, what will it be capable of, and also job creation numbers?
Full capacity, Eben, we're going to be looking at 5,000 trucks annually. I'm not sure there are 1 or 2 trucks. They're blocked at the moment. You can see an example of the trucks that are going to be built. So 5,000 of these will come out of this plant annually. And then thereafter, they're going to be looking at passenger vehicles, and they're expecting 30,000 of these annually. So that's quite significant numbers if you do the math. And what this is going to do is going to create between 400 and 500 permanent jobs, which is big for the Eastern Cape in an economy that actually needs it.
And most of that will be for the export market, I would think.
That's right. It's going to be all of it, Eben, for sub-Saharan Africa. So staying right here at home.
That's the good news. Tell us about today and the festivities with the president and the like happening there today, Janine.
Yeah, we're expecting President Jacob Zuma to arrive round about 11 o'clock. It will be a short hop from him from the airport. He'll get off his plane, and there's a highway that runs right past this plant. So he should be here in no time at all. He will then be taken into the plant, and he will be given a tour of the plant. And then I think there will be a few celebrations and probably some champagne corks popping. And the president will then give his keynote address, and no doubt will let everybody know just how difficult it was to get this. And 2 years in the making, but the day is finally here, and it will be finally officially opened. And then I presume, busy man that he is, President Jacob Zuma, he will probably then fly out of Port Elizabeth.
Well, what's the reaction of the locals towards this kind of project then?
No, Eben, it's always extremely very welcome whenever there's a project of this significance and this magnitude. The first thing on everybody's minds is jobs. And I spoke to you about between 400 and 500 permanent jobs. And with that, Eben, will come other jobs that aren't perhaps permanent, but it is going to be some kind of a job that will put food on the table for people in a province where the unemployment rate is high and people need jobs. So the first thing people are talking about is job creation, and what it does also, it cements the Eastern Cape, and it's very, very good for the Eastern Cape economy. So it smiles all around here in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro and the province as a whole.
Thank you very much, Janine. That's Janine giving us an update on, exciting developments down in the Eastern Cape, where President Zuma will be opening a brand new truck assembly and other vehicle assembly plant there in the province. Always welcome. It's always good to see these international collaborations where South Africa is involved with their BRICS and neighbours. Very exciting. Let's take a quick look at what's happening again on social media. I think World Cup is very much on everyone's minds. Pushback Mokadam says, sorry Argentina, you were not the deserving one last night. My commiserations to Netherlands. Says Pushback. Well, there are a couple of views on that. Neil Bacter says, you got this, Argentina. Penalty shootout. Yes, they got it indeed. Need to catch up on some sleep after the World Cup 2014. That's right, the games are a little bit late, and I've been at odds with my family about making noise in the middle of the night at home. Anyhow, there you have a picture. That is Argentinians celebrating. Matthew Chaston saying semi-final victory. That is the celebrations, I would think, in Buenos Aires. I think Leo Messi will make Argentina World Cup champions. Juan Sebastian Veron. That is the opinion of Juan Sebastian Veron. My humble opinion is I'm not so sure. The Germans are playing very well, and I think that Leo Messi is not in the form of his life at the moment. That's just judging on last night's performance. Let's take a look now what's happening on our Facebook page today. You will see there the African National Congress Women's League Deputy President Nosipo Ntwanambi passed away at the age of 54 yesterday. You can also read more on the City of Cape Town condemning the violence during a service delivery protest in Langa on the Cape Flats, and read more on Justice Minister Michael Masuta, who's expected to announce whether former apartheid-era police colonel Eugene de Kock will be granted parole today. You can follow all of those stories and more on our Newsroom Facebook page. Time for us to take a short break. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News.
I once saw a flower blossom through 27 prison bars of yesterday's unjust flames. I felt an old woman's anticipation for the country's first open elections. And I heard the loud celebrations of that flower's historic inauguration. I was there when Unity sang of how the Springbok never held anything back. And we saw a first-time band of 11 men, Shibobo possibility throughout the land. At the foot of Africa, time remembers how truth can reconcile a people. We carved our name into space, and on the world stage, our art stood united. When we blow that vuvuzela, the whole world goes into a trance. And even in that tearful hour of the flower's separation, we are a people who see the music and hear the flowers dance. SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Your World provides trusted world, continent and local stories. We deliver breaking news from across the globe and information on the latest top stories on business, technology, politics and sport. Analysis of the big global business and economic issues as they affect consumers and investors. Make sure you don't miss Your World, weekdays between 11 and 12 midnight. We keep the nation fully informed.
Catch all 64 games of the FIFA World Cup live from 12 June to 13 July on SABC TV and our 19 radio stations. SABC, the official broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News. Let's have a look at the stories making headlines today. Police are monitoring the situation in Phongolo in northern KwaZulu-Natal, where local magistrates' court was torched in Promotional township last night. This follows a standoff between the police and community members, which lasted for several hours, with residents barricading roads with rubble. The community is demanding the release of 15 people who were arrested for allegedly burning a local church and the home of the church leader. The unrest was triggered by the killing and mutilation of a 4-year-old boy. The National Union of Metal Workers NUMSA is to hold regional feedback meetings today to discuss the latest wage offer from employers. Last night, the Metal Workers Union held a special National Executive Committee meeting to discuss the latest wage offer from employer group SAFSA. Employers are offering a 10% increase, while NUMSA has officially lowered its wage demand to 12%. The Justice Minister, Michael Mashuta, is expected to announce whether former apartheid-era police death squad commander Eugene de Kock will be granted parole today. The minister was given 30 days to make a decision after de Kock approached the High Court in Pretoria for a decision in May. Nearly 2 decades ago, de Kock was sentenced to 2 life sentences for murder and 212 years in prison for charges including conspiracy to commit murder, culpable homicide, kidnapping, assault and fraud. The sentences run concurrently. Argentina will take on Germany for the 2014 FIFA World Cup title following a nail-biting penalty shootout over the Netherlands in Sao Paulo last night, where the South American team progressed 4-2 to the final stage of the tournament. Tilakaratne Dilshan outshone Hashim Amla's 14th one-day international century to steer Sri Lanka to a serious levelling 87 run over South Africa in their second match yesterday. Dilshan followed his 90-ball knock of 86 to take 3 crucial South African wickets for 40 runs and claim the Man of the Match award. Sri Lanka, choosing to bat first, were dismissed for 267 in the 50th over, with Ryan McLaren causing a late collapse, taking 4 for 48 as the last 6 wicket falls for 42 runs. South Africa were going strongly at 101 for 2 before Dilshan induced AB de Villiers to miscue a shot, and they then collapsed to 180 all out for 38 overs in a slow pitch. All of those stories are available on our Facebook page. You can also follow us at SABC Newsroom. Yeben, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And in time for us now to take a look at what's been happening on the web, really, and on the social media front. I've just learnt a new word there. Joining me, of course, digital news production editor Christelle Toy and digital news producer Seppo Tsiole. Morning, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Morning. It's good that we could make it this early in the morning because everyone's a bit tired from the soccer.
Yeah, people haven't been sleeping that well of late, I suppose. I'm one of those. But let's start there because I think that's what people are talking about this morning, Seppo. Let's start with the Brazilian loss. I think that was probably the biggest upset that a nation has suffered in the history of sport, I would think.
Exactly. I think I'm happy that I'm back here. And like I told you, I don't see Brazil in the finals. And yeah, but who could have expected it? There's a reason why it's called the beautiful game, but it's also a cruel game. 7-1 drubbing, Brazil, everyone's still crying. So yeah, it was unexpected, but you know, we have to move on with life. We also saw yesterday's game, Argentina, Netherlands. No one ever gave Argentina a chance. We thought Netherlands was going to win in open game, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Again, Netherlands goalkeeper showed it was again turning out to be the World Cup for most goalkeepers. So, yeah, we're looking forward to Sunday for the finals, Argentina versus Germany. But I'm still saying I'm still standing with you again. Germany's going to take this one. No
Thank
doubt.
you. Some sobriety here early in the morning from Seba. But before we carry on, Christelle, I want to finish this World Cup conversation. It's become a World Cup, as all World Cups do. It becomes about individual players and about those players making their mark. This has been very much made out around Leo Messi now is in the final. But last night he was very well marshalled, I thought, by Nigel de Jong.
Yeah.
And didn't have one of the greatest games, did he?
No, he didn't. He hasn't been convincing, I think, since the beginning of the tournament. And I don't see him flourishing in the finals either. The Germans are on song, and I think they have all resources available to, again, contain him. So Lionel Messi, I doubt. And you must remember, this is the third time the two teams are meeting in the finals of a World Cup, and twice before, the Germans have snubbed the Argentines. So I think it's going to happen for...
Don't forget in 1986 when Argentina, when they won against Germany 3-2, probably the greatest final of all, huh?
Not this time, though. Not this time. The Germans, they're picking, very hard stuff, and yeah, they're going to go through.
Just tell us about we're looking at some of the stuff that's been happening on social media. Some of the funnies coming in. We saw a German beer snubbing out a Brazilian cocktail there earlier. What are some of these all about?
Yeah, well, social media has been a buzz with a lot that's been happening, especially with the Brazil game. The emotions and the shock that's been going in there. You can see there, the German beverages crushing,
Crushing the Brazilian cocktail.
Brazilian cocktails.
People really don't have jobs, do they? I think we should...
And there's one also on Oprah, saying everyone has got a goal, given how, Germany was scoring freely against Brazil. So it's been a tough one for Brazil.
I must also say that Brazil didn't have a defense in that game. I mean, they missed their captain. there was nothing going on there. But last night's match, let's just wrap it up quickly, Tsepo. Last night's match was disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was disappointing.
It was a rather cagey affair and not becoming of a World Cup semi-final.
It was disappointing. I think the less said about it, the better. At least in the penalties, you know, the goalkeeper, he was outstanding. He managed to save 2 brilliant penalties, which pretty much secured them victory to the finals.
Well, we just see Brazilian tears on our online scenario. I think the Brazilians are going to be crying for the next couple of years, unfortunately. That's the way it is. But thanks, Tsepo. Thank you for always keeping us up to date the last month as to what's happening. The next week, we'll wrap up the World Cup, and hopefully we're both right with a victory for Germany. Yeah?
We will be right.
Christelle, now let's talk about what's going on in the country this week. I think the one big thing that came out in the news is probably Oscar Pistorius' trial coming to an end and closing argument being set. People are talking about a verdict before the end of August, which is a big step forward, I would think.
Well, I mean, that's the nature of social media, is everyone is an expert, you know. As you saw the World Cup play out on social media, I think there was an unprecedented amount of tweets during the Brazil game. Yeah. Social media has also been playing out. We, of course, had the controversial footage playing out in Australia, where people are now using even more of their opinion. We took a principled decision not to put that footage on the web or even use screenshots, because you never know how it's going to influence a legal case and the legal proceedings. But it certainly got everyone talking.
Yeah, it's very controversial, the last little bit with the leaked footage and all those sorts of stuff. But what can our viewers be looking forward to until the 7th, until this is done? What are we putting up, and what can people sort of keep an eye out for?
Sure. We've still got a special report on about Oscar Pistorius, where it profiles Oscar, it profiles the lead prosecutor and all the main role players, and we keep up with the news as it's developing. And then, of course, when it comes back, we'll be streaming it live on the website and on our YouTube channel, and all that footage is still available. It's proved to be very popular.
This is our YouTube channel on...
Yes, it's
this is the YouTube channel.
youtube.com/SABC News.
Yes.
And, you know, like, yeah, you'll find all the Oscar content, like you do with Marikana, the proceedings that are happening there. It's still available and can be viewed anytime.
So you can sort of watch back on
bits.
everything that's been going on.
All the juicy bits,
If you've been on the moon for the last 5 months, that's where you should go and have a look.
If you haven't been watching soccer.
Let's move on quickly. In South Africa, we're going through the grip of what is now a very icy winter. How are you marking this week? And I'm sure people are complaining in the Twitterverse.
They're complaining. I mean, there's all kinds of views on it in terms of some people. There is, of course, a serious side, but we kind of unpacked some of the lighter side on social media. We, for example, caught up with some of our reporters in the field, where, you know, people forget that they're standing out there in the cold. Brookeselda is freezing there.
No, I saw her earlier in the week. I think it was Tuesday when it really hit the first cold snap.
Yeah.
She was freezing a little backside off there next to the court. I was making a bit of fun of her, but I know when it's -1 and you're working out on the pavement with the wind blowing, it's not fun, you know?
It's not fun, no. But even I joined the discussion here saying, you know, well, someone was saying that winter makes you start phoning your exes, and I was saying it's not love, it's winter. So, yeah, and lots of chocolate eating and things like that, comfort eating, will deal with the weight issues in summer. It's another day's problem.
Yeah, all I want is flapjacks, bacon, and a ton of syrup, says Bella. Yeah, Bella, that's what we all want to do. Christelle, and then anything else? Arts Festival in Grahamstown. Is that going down a treat?
We've got a very interesting collaboration happening where Rhodes University, pardon me, has Q Media, which has a digital platform as well, Q Online, and we're partnering with them, and most of their content, if not all, is available on our website. So you've got very cool stuff. You've got behind-the-scenes tours, artists showing interactive videos of their work, so that you can kind of get an idea of what's happening in the artist's mind, and, you know, you can kind of play around with those images.
That's incredible.
We've got the maps of the places. We've got stuff like how can you eat under 20 Rand at the festival.
Finally, Mandela Month. Just tell us quickly, you've got 30 seconds. What are we doing for Mandela Month?
We're also bringing in a special report all the coverage. We are asking people to tweet us and tell us what they're doing on the day and in the run-up to the day so that we can map it and have a bit of an idea of what people are up to. But we've still got our special report on Nelson Mandela, which was established around about the time that he passed away, where you can find all the news related to him, information on his life, events related to him, and that's also available at sabc.co.za/Mandela.
And the main celebration is happening in Vezo in the Eastern Cape.
In Vezo in the Eastern Cape is where the main celebration is at. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming in. Always informative and always such a lot of information that you make available to our viewers out there. Thank you once again, Seppo and Christelle from our digital news team. Now, just to sort of finish up by popping in and giving a little update on our top story, a local magistrate's court has been torched at Ngcochane Township at Phongolo in northern KwaZulu-Natal. The police and defence force soldiers worked until very late last night to stabilise the situation. The community is demanding the release of 15 people who were arrested for allegedly burning a local church and the home of the church leader. The unrest was triggered by the killing and mutilation of a 4-year-old boy. A 51-year-old pastor was arrested in connection with the murder and was expected to appear in the court, which was then set alight. Now, Ayanda Mhlongo was supposed to join us live, but she joins us on the line from Phongolo. Good morning, Ayanda. Just give us a quick update on the latest there.
Good morning to you, Eben, and must apologize for that technical problem. But, yeah, definitely, even a big police presence now. We understand that even more police deployments from other areas near Phongolo have now arrived just to beef up security, because that's the biggest issue. The community now, even, they are gathering, and we understand it's going to be an illegal march to another magistrate's court, which is at the town in Phongolo. Police are also then setting up blockades because it is an illegal march, and therefore they want to prevent the community from making their way to that court, where they want the 15 youths to be released from prison. But also, of course, at the same time, the 51-year-old pastor that has been arrested in connection, of course, with the murder of that 4-year-old boy is also going to be appearing, we understand, possibly at the same court, and there's huge security issues around his appearance. So the police are doing all their best to ensure that the community does not make their way to that court. As you know, and as you've mentioned, there's a lot of destruction. I tell you, this courtroom, and we are at this courthouse, rather, and where we are now, it's been completely vandalized. It's been set alight, and I think it will take months and months for it to be renovated, and so that it will be able to be in use again. Even just also very quickly, we understand that also this morning the community was attempting to go now and set up a satellite, another church. We have not yet been able to ascertain as to why is that church, does that have any connection with the story that has been ongoing with the murder of this 4-year-old boy. We do not know what has happened there, but we do know that there's been a heavy police deployment outside of that church. The military as well. We've seen an additional military personnel also now on foot, moving around the area. So there's now a heavy police presence, a military presence. And what they're doing is they are chasing people now to go back into their homes, because they have groups of people pockets of people that are standing in the streets, on the street corners, and they fear that these are the people that are going to then gather together to make that illegal march down to the city. At the moment, it's still very calm. No incidents except for that church, which they were able to avert. But police are on standby. They're on high alert. It's still very much a volatile and tense situation here, Eben.
Ayanda, what are the community demanding? Are they making a link between this kind of muti killings, witchcraft, and then the churches in that area?
Yes, it seems exactly that, Eben, that they're saying that this is relating to Muti. And you know, we just asked one of the community members, why now the second church? What does that have to do? And they said that the pastors of both churches were very close to each other. But, I mean, the people being close to each other doesn't necessarily mean that they're involved in any activity, if at all. But it now seems that they are talking about other churches in the area. there are allegations or claims that they're going to be targeting other churches in the area. So the police are now guarding all the churches that are in this Nojana township. Also, even we've seen them guarding schools, because there's information that has come through from the intelligence to say that the community are planning to also then go off and torch schools, and also there's a heavy police presence outside one of the clinics here in the area where they understand that there's information that they were going to go and torch. Yeah, when we are speaking to them, they're saying they are not going to back down. Even after these youths have been released, seemingly they're saying they want that pastor and they want to deal with that pastor. However, it's something that cannot, that cannot be allowed. Of course, vigilantism, the police are trying to send a strong message along with the councillors, local councillors, but whether that message is filtering through to the community at the moment, really, even it doesn't seem so.
And quickly, Ayanda, have we had any word from the family of the deceased toddler?
The mother of the toddler is undergoing, she's with social workers. At the moment, you can understand that even that she had to go to the mortuary to identify parts of her son. So that was an extremely traumatic experience from, for the family. So they've really been sheltered by the social workers and the police. They've been kept away from the community. So there's not a lot. I mean, there wasn't much that she said. She was really in tears, but one can understand the pain that this poor woman has experienced, having to see her child in that situation.
Ayanda, thank you very much for that update. We'll keep you updated on this very platform as to how that story develops. It's a very interesting story, of course. A pastor was arrested there after a Muti killing of a 4-year-old boy. His body was arrested, but last night, the community members in a sort of vigilante attack set alight the church and other buildings in that area. Ayanda will keep you updated throughout the rest of the show. I'm sure Albus and the team after this will have another update for you at the top of the hour. That's where we have to wrap it. Newsroom is broadcast live every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. from our studios in Johannesburg here in South Africa. The show repeats at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a rebroadcast at 5 a.m. the following morning. We're also live on YouTube at that time with our whole show available on our YouTube channel. So if you're at home or at the office, you've got no excuse. You can watch the show. This is SABC News. You have been watching Newsroom. We love it in the morning.
Your World provides trusted world, continent and local stories. We deliver breaking news from across the globe and information on the latest top stories on business, technology, politics and sport. Analysis of the big global business and economic issues as they affect consumers and investors. Make sure you don't miss Your World, weekdays between 11 and 12 midnight. We keep the nation fully informed.
Catch all 64 games of the FIFA World Cup live from 12 June to 13 July on SABC TV and our 19 radio stations. SABC, the official broadcaster of the 2014 FIFA World Cup Brazil.
Naturally, mountains offer serenity and tranquility. This allows for an opportunity to become closer to one's creator and is perfect for meditation and reflection. That is why a group of gentlemen have decided to make it their duty to climb the highest peaks of the world in order to become closer to the Almighty Allah.
I think if you look at all the saints and awliyas that we have in the world, most of them are buried on mountains. In fact, there's one right here by us. And there are others in the Cape area, all on mountains. And the Prophet received revelation in a cave in a mountain. So yes, the mountains has inspired me since I was in school days to go up. So yes, it gives you more serenity and peace of mind to be able to meditate and think about nature and how great the Almighty is.
Well, the mountains, I believe, has a very great link to Islam. Our Prophet ﷺ received his first wahid up in the mountains. I remember an incident when he and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq actually found refuge in the mountain as well with the spider's web. So mountains always been linked to Islam. So I find it rather strange when people think it's mad people going up mountains. But no, I think mountains gives you a sense of peace, a sense of tranquility, and it gives you some time just to be by yourself.
The bonds of friendship have been strengthened on mountains across the world. It has also allowed them to understand each other better. Bapu, Jalal, Munir and Mo have been climbing mountains and doping hikes since they were young men.
I've always been introvert, I've always been in the mountains and along the riverside and so forth for contemplation and just getting away from the moles and drills of life, for inspiration. But at some stage I'm glad that I was introduced to a group which inspired me even more.
Well, I started hiking when I was still at school. I went at Trafalgar High School in District 6, obviously basically the foot of the mountains. So I've been hiking for a good 15 years plus. I think that the first trail I remember is Patekklip Gorge. In fact, up to the day, still after 15 odd years, still my favorite trip. Even since I've done Kilimanjaro and we've done Everest Base Camp, Patekklip still stands out for me because of the challenge. You tend to go up quicker and faster, but you can only go up so fast.
On the mountain, you have to have quite a lot of discipline. You're meeting people. One of the most important things of hiking is learning to accept other people for what they are, accepting their shortcomings. There are little things, especially under difficult circumstances, that can irritate a person very quickly. But knowing that you are on the trip to enjoy yourself, you somehow manage to curtail your anger, suppress saying certain things that you wouldn't want to say, which is going to leave an unpleasant taste afterwards. So this, yes, definitely gives you ability to, under your house circumstances, to control your anger and make sure that everybody moves the path that they're supposed to move. So the hiking does help us quite a lot.
A few years ago, these men decided to tackle the ultimate peak, Mount Everest. Preparations included getting physically ready, and a lot of the time was spent in the gym.
My role for Everest was basically organizing the entire trip, okay? Making sure that the bookings are done from the other side with the Nepal Trailblazers. It's a company we use on that side, and as well as the leader of the group, making sure that everybody is there and taking the medication with them, making, all the necessary stuff, the insurance. We had a big problem with that. For this specific trip, we actually used the Patekklip Gorge in Table Mountain as our training ground. We used to go up there nearly every week, even more if we could. The idea was that try and decrease the time it took us to get to the top. So when we started, it took us about 2.5 hours. That's from Tafelberg Road to the top of Patekklip. By the time we left, it took us about just under an hour.
Many people do not understand the insatiable need to reach these high ascents. However, once you reach the top of the mountain, then you do truly understand the insignificance of man. Then only you can feel the importance of the blessings and the mercy of the Almighty Allah.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
It is now 10:00 hours Central African time on Thursday, the 10th of July, 2014. Assalamu alaikum. Buongiorno. Molweni, dumelang, molo, goeiemorgen, nda. Good morning, habari, Jumbo Africa. And a very warm welcome to AM News here on SABC News Channel 404. We are broadcasting live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa.